On behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Falling Ball Foundation, it's a great pleasure to welcome you all to today's event. And in particular, I'd like to welcome the 100 presenters whom we will listen to today. I have been part of the jury 5 times before, and I have thoroughly enjoyed these events. It has been much appreciated also by those who take part in it. And for us who listen, for us who serve on the jury, it's a true treat to listen to the best presentations from all over the world in a very short format. So this year we had 90 international labs in no less than 63 different countries on all 5 continents. The only continent lacking is Antarctica, but I know that the foundation is working hard on that for the next year. There was 3,346 applications, and what you represent then is the 100 winners who we will listen to today. You are all winners already, so you should relax and take today's event as a sort of exciting development of your plans. And 3 of you will be selected today to present tomorrow at the big Falling Balls event, and we will return to that. So this year marks the 30-year anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. And we are right now very close to the actual wall. You can see it on this picture. And where the Futurium house, where we now are, there was actually nothing 30 years ago. There has been a dramatic change since then, as you can all appreciate. I think it is very appropriate that we are in the house of Futurium, the future house, listening to the future scientists of the globe. And I would like to thank also the jury members for their participation. And our chair is Claudie Agneret, who you will hear more about shortly. We also have Lim Chao Pu. Could you please stand up? And so thank you. Dr. Ahmed Ghazi. Susanne Burger. Michael Lipka. Anna Godinho. Maria Leptin. Usame Badiane. Mauro Ferrari. Julika Grim. Monica Lessel. Alison Mitchell. Sven Wagner. And Margaret Wintermantel. Thank you very much, jury members, for agreeing to take part in this event, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. I would also like to thank our partners for their wonderful support. Without this, we could not have organized this event. The German Federal Ministry of Education and Research, the Berlin Senate, the Bayer Foundations, Sartorius, Huawei, the Federal Foreign Office of Germany, and the German Academic Exchange Service. Thank you very much. So today we honor science. And against the skepticism and reluctance of many of the world leaders today against knowledge and truth and science, these kind of events are more important than ever. And we have to all stand up for science and its importance in today's society. We also celebrate internationalization. You come from more than 60 different countries, which I think is wonderful. We see some worrying tendencies today of nationalism, isolationism, and the fact that we can bring together so many people from so many countries for a wonderful event of this kind, I think is just fantastic. So I wish everyone here a wonderful 2-day Falling Balls event. Thank you.
Please welcome our moderator, Anais Bock from Let's Work Magic.
Good morning. It's wonderful to see you all here. I'm sitting here in the first row, and I can already sense people are scared of me because there are a few free seats. So I invite anyone who's standing to come on over, even if it says reserved, just have a seat. I don't bite, I promise. There will be a little bit of housekeeping afterwards, but first, I want to invite two special people to this stage. One is Professor Dr. Jens Reich, who came to East Berlin when he was sweet 17 to study at the HU Berlin. He is now, his bio is unreal to introduce. He is a molecular biologist, physician, DDR, so German Democratic Republic revolutionary, civil rights activist, and bioethicist. So you're here, Professor Dr. Reich, after 30 years of the Berlin Wall falling, and it's an incredible honor to have you here. You will be interviewed by Ashraf Mizo, who won the 2018 Khartoum Falling Walls Lab, and is here exactly 365 days later. Ashraf works on social change through technology. So he has been working with Nyla Prosthetics, which is a prosthetic that combines 3D printing and machine learning to help raise the capacity and mobility of people in underserved communities. So thank you very much for the two of you. Welcome to the stage and have a wonderful conversation.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody, yeah.
Professor Reich.
Yeah.
It's an absolute honor to meet you. You have been a lifelong advocate for freedom of speech and peaceful democratic change. You're also one of the most well-known civil rights activists in the former DDR. And on 4th of November 1989, you gave a speech on behalf of the new forum on the demonstrations that took place on the east of Berlin landmark Alexanderplatz. You spoke about opening a genuine democratic dialogue, freedom of the media, and freedom of speech. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, what do you think were the key elements that led to the fall of the Berlin Wall, and what were your contributions to them?
Well, the key element is that people got up, went into the streets and demanded changes, reforms in the beginning within the framework of the then GDR, and this later on developed into a movement towards reunification of the split Germanies. So people simply lost anger, lost their anxiety, overcome it, and were ready, everybody here, that 4th of November, 30 years ago, here in Berlin, assembled, I think, 400,000 or 500,000, I didn't count them, an enormous number of people. And, well, I had a short speech there, as I have here today, a speech, and I can only say it was intimidating even to stand in front of such a large crowd. And the crowd was so joyful, in such a good mood. They had such creative and even funny slogans with them. And demanded what you mentioned already, demanded free possibility of saying what you think and free movement around the country and around the world. Students were there, young people, but also elderly people who were fed up with the dictatorial or authoritarian, as you may call it, state. And it has been a great day. Nobody thought about anything like opening the wall at that moment, although we were quite close to the wall. Alexanderplatz is 10 minutes or 15 minutes walk to the Brandenburg Gate, and it is an enigma to me to this day that nobody thought about bringing down the wall. That was an contingent event that took place 5 days later and paved the way for more development, and finally then towards the end of the Cold War, as one might say, dissolution of the big military blocs that opposed each other, here in Berlin in particular. Suddenly things became possible that were unimaginable up to that moment.
Yeah, thank you so much. So Professor Reich, Professor, you're not only a politician and an activist, you're also a scientist. You're a biologist by training, and you took part in the Human Genome Project. You were also a member of the German Ethics Council that, with its opinions, gives recommendations for society and politics. So my questions to you, as a member, what were some of the most interesting or tackling questions that you had to give advice on, and how did you reconcile the different interests of society, politics, industry, and science when giving that advice?
Yes, reconciliation of the conflicting opinions, on ethical matters. It was the intention of that ethic council that had been called together by the German government. The intention. What came out of it afterwards is another matter. But what we did there was issuing papers with opinion about the main issues at that time, from 2000 to 2012, when I was in that council, which is still working with other people now, where the burning questions of how to deal with artificial interference into human life, early human life, embryo research, usage or inclusion of embryos into molecular biological and cell biological research, which is a matter of great ethical concern, of course, in wide circles of society. On the other hand, it is a matter of progress and of possible future help to people who have problems with getting children, or with children who are handicapped. All these things are a burning issue, and we had to discuss this from both sides: those who had concerns, and those who would like to bring forward knowledge about these things, experiments on embryonic cells, and whether one can make organs, for instance, for people who have problems with major organs in their body. So this was a topic, and it was, on the one hand, it was an ethical, a political question. On the other hand, it was a very deep question of biological research and biological knowledge at the time.
Okay, and where do you stand on that now?
My position about these things, diagnostic, for instance, diagnostics before gravidity, technical diagnostics about this, is led by the consideration that if people, families, a pair, is in a deep state of not knowing what will happen, will we have a child which is able to master the world afterwards, don't know whether to get this get this child or to not to do so, is a matter of deep personal concern, and to my mind the state should be very careful with interfering with law or with other regulations from above. That one must be very careful to interfere into the private, deep private life of families, of people, of a pair which is going to found a family and so on. So the autonomy of the person is the main guiding rule, as it were, in such questions.
Well, it's my absolute pleasure to be standing on the stage again and looking into the faces of 100 young, talented, inspiring individuals. And let me tell you, it was the longest 2.5 minutes in my life. But I can always look back to it and say, I have done that, and in the most prestigious of stages. And I think it was definitely the people that were my maximum gain. Following your inspiring story, there's one thing in particular that really stood out to me. So because of the technological disparities between the East and West, you found yourself in sort of a disadvantage, and then you turned into theory and started doing mathematical models. So can you share with us what kind of mindset you have to have or had to recognize that disadvantage and still thrive?
Well, I think it is still widespread disadvantage for young scientists in many countries, that the political or economical circumstances are such that free research, experimental research or theoretical research is difficult. There's, I think I could name a number of countries who are in a similar situation as the countries of Eastern Bloc were at the time. And this was, at the time, East Germany or the other Eastern Europe countries under communism were in a very disagreeable state as concerning young people who wish to do some great research. All sorts of hampering circumstances, not enough support, money support, and the political circumstances sometimes make it difficult to develop your science that you wish to do. And this was so at 30 years ago, and it was a great, breathing out in freely when the wall came down and this fundamental change took place in Eastern Europe. I can only say that I hope very much that people who are still, young people who are still in this state where you cannot fly as you wish freely, that things will, that we, the others who are in a better state, myself now, I am in a better state, my children feel now free, and they are all also in the natural sciences. I can hope only that as many as possible people get the opportunity to develop freely their science, and I'm convinced that this falling walls movement will help. many people from countries where either civil war or other political circumstances are such that it is difficult to become a free research, free student of free research.
I can definitely resonate with what you said. If you have one piece of advice to give for these young individuals, what would that be?
I would say my advice is the same as I would have given 30 years ago to a young scholar. Don't do what you consider necessary, what you are aspiring to. Try to do, to think about the world around you, about the science that you are aspiring to, and try not to be laid off by circumstances. You have to struggle to develop yourself as you imagine, as you have a dream about. Everybody in science must have a dream, because work in science is difficult. It consumes 90% of your wakeful life. Don't be deterred by circumstances. Don't let things getting over you. Do what you think is possible, what you were aspiring to from your early childhood or youth, and be hopeful that you will achieve what you wish to do.
I think you embody that advice in the best way possible. Thank you so much, Professor Reich. And that's a pleasure.